everybody, welcome to Cheeseology with Adam, the cheesiest channel on YouTube. I'm Adam. Today we're going to be making a second version of the mozzarella that I made in another video. There's two things that are different about this mozzarella. One, I'm using local raw cow's milk, and then two, part of the process I'm going to change out. In the first video, once we strain the curd, we put the curd mass into a pot of 170-degree water so it gets hot, and then from there we start stretching. In this video, we're going to use a microwave. The first method may not be convenient for everybody. The microwave works just as well. I've done it both ways. Both methods work great, but it just may be a little bit more convenient to use a microwave over heating up another pot to 170 degrees. A couple things we're going to need. We're going to need a pot, a good stock pot. We're going to need a heat source. I'm using a hot plate in my garage. We're going to need a stir. We're also going to need a quarter cup of water, and then also a cup of water. The quarter cup of water, we're going to dilute our quarter teaspoon of rennet into the quarter cup of water. I use animal rennet. There's different types out there. I just prefer animal rennet. In the 1 cup of water, we're going to dissolve 1.5 teaspoons of citric acid. So the same ingredients as the other video, minus using raw milk, which should be fabulous. But everything else is the same. So here's our rennet. I have my citric acid, granulars. We're going to need some salt, a teaspoon of salt. Later on, once we start stretching, right before we're done stretching, we're going to add that salt, fold it in real good. We're also going to need a colander and then some cheesecloth. So, depending on how fast you bring the milk up to temperature, you can make this mozzarella in about 30 minutes. We don't want to blast the milk with heat, but yeah, overall, once you have everything together, this mozzarella can be made in 30 minutes. So first thing we're going to start with is, one, sanitizing our pot. It's clean. Again, I use a food grade sanitizer in the spray bottle. This pot's clean. I'm just going to give that a squirt. Now it's sanitized. Now we're going to pour our raw milk into the pot, or if you can use pasteurized milk, that's perfectly fine. If you're using pasteurized milk, you don't need to, but you should use calcium chloride, a quarter teaspoon per gallon. What that does is helps the curd form once you put the rennet in. Through the pasteurization process, it takes a little bit away from being able to actually create that curd. It still forms, I've done it lots of times, but you just get a better curd mass by using calcium chloride. Okay, our raw milk is in. So now I'm going to put my rennet, my quarter teaspoon, into a quarter cup of water. Just mix it up a little bit. Now I'm also going to get my citric acid ready. So I need a teaspoon and a half in a cup of water to dissolve the citric acid. Okay, now we're done with citric acid and we're done with the rennet. Okay, citric acid is ready. Now we're going to pour our citric acid into the pot before the milk is heated up. I'm going to put that in, and now I'm going to give that a good stir. Now we're heating our milk up to 90 degrees after the citric acid is in. We're going to need a thermometer as well. I just clip mine to the side here, and then I can see what's going on. Okay, we're going to heat this up to 90 degrees, and then we'll add the rennet. Our milk is now hit 90 degrees. What we want to do now is take it off the heat source. We can take our thermometer out, or it can drop out. And then we want to put in our diluted rennet. Okay? Now we want to stir this for about 30 seconds. Then we want to put a lid on it and leave it go for 5 minutes. When we come back, we should be able to cut curd. You want it undisturbed for 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll let it go just a minute or two longer. But put that lid on and we will see what it looks like in 5 minutes. Alright, it's been 5 minutes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our lid off and we're going to see if the curd is ready to cut and then cook. We do that by what we call getting a clean break. So I'll show you how we slice that and tell if it's ready. Take our curd knife, and then what we want to do is make a small slit and then a small slit this way and lift up a little bit. You look at that. That is perfect. See how that's separated? That is a clean break. So now what we want to do is cut the curd. We're gonna make, for this cheese, 1-inch checkerboard. So I do vertical first like this. Doesn't have to be exactly 1 inch, somewhere around there. And then what I do is I do angled horizontal. The reason for that is so we don't end up with long strips going down into the pot. You want these kind of as uniform as possible in 1 inch chunks. Now, look how beautiful that looks. See how cleanly they're breaking away from each other? And this is raw milk, so this is doing it better than what we'd see with pasteurized milk. You can still use pasteurized milk. Made lots and lots of cheese with pasteurized milk, but that's what it looks like right now. Now that we've cut the curds, we're going to put our pot back on the heat source and heat it up to 105 degrees while slowly stirring the curds, called cooking the curds. What we're doing is getting moisture out of the curds. So I'm going to turn my heat back on. I'm going to put my thermometer back in. You want to stir this very slowly, like I am right there. So we're going to continue stirring this slowly. Slice any big pieces to make them kind of uniform. Slowly stirring and bringing this up to 105. I'm about 92 right now. So I'll explain what the difference between the process step difference is between this mozzarella video and my other one. In this video, or I should say in the last video, once we did this step here and then drained our curds and our cheesecloth and our colander, we took that curd mass and then on the side we had already heated up a pot of water to 170 degrees. What we did with that water is we put our curd mass into that, let it heat up for a minute, and then we would take that out and start our stretching. You can see on the other video I did it several times. That may not be convenient for everybody, so what I'm doing here is once I'm done stirring this till it gets 105, we're going to take it off the heat, stir it for another 2 to 5 minutes, and then we're going to drain our curd. At that point, instead of me putting the curd mass into a pot of hot water, I'm going to put it in this glass bowl on my table, put it in the microwave for 1 minute. Once I do that, we're going to start stretching. I'll take you through each one of those steps. You definitely are going to want a pair of rubber gloves. I have a black pair of rubber gloves that I use here, so you don't burn your hands. I have done it with my just bare hands, but it gets pretty hot. So to do it right, I would get a pair of gloves that doesn't transfer heat very well. I got this raw milk locally. I'm new to this area. Well, new when I say new, about 2 years. But there's a store about 10 minutes from me that actually carries gallons of raw milk, which I was very surprised and very happy to find. It's more pricey than pasteurized milk. It's really why I use pasteurized milk more often, even if I can get raw milk. It's about a third of the cost, and you can make great cheeses with it. Most of my cheeses are actually made from pasteurized milk that I just buy at the store. So we're at 102, 103, about 2 more degrees. And we're going to take this off and continue stirring a little bit for about 2 to 5 minutes, and then we're going to drain and start heating and pressing, or heating and stretching rather. Okay, we're at that temperature. We are now done with our heat source. We'll take my thermometer out, and I just like to set a timer for I'll set it for 3 minutes. And we'll stir slowly for that 3 minutes, and then we will drain. Now, when we microwave this, so again, I'm going to strain this, and then I'm just going to put that curd into this glass bowl and microwave it for 1 minute. When you get it out of the microwave, you're going to see there's going to be whey there now. You just want to dump that out, and then start stretching. And that's at the point where you want to add salt. But I'll show you that here in a minute. After, when I do the microwave steps, I'll go into my house, use the microwave, and I'll do the actual stretching right here. Okay, I think we're where we want to be. I'm going to line my colander with my cheesecloth. I just wet it a little bit, makes it easier to work with. Doesn't fall into the pot as much. I'm going to put this into my sink, and now we're going to strain it. So this is what I'm going to do. There's my colander with my cheesecloth. I'm just going to dump this right in. That looks great. What we're going to want to do now is pick this cheesecloth up and let it drain while holding it up just for a minute. As you can see, there's whey dripping out, a steady stream, so it's pretty wet. You can give this a little bit of a squeeze to get some of that out. Like I said, we're going to get more whey out as we microwave it. All right, I've just microwaved this for a minute. I'm going to dump out that whey. And now I'm going to pick it up. And I'm just going to start kneading it together, kind of pushing it together. Actually, you can leave it in the bowl for this step because it's still real wet. So just use your hands or a big spoon. You just want to kind of push it together. You're going to see right away you get a lot more whey out. I'm going to keep doing that a little bit. Again, I'm just kneading this, just pushing down on it, and losing all kinds of whey. That's what we want. I want to get some of that whey out. I think I'll wait till the next microwave interval to add the salt. There's a lot of moisture coming out of this yet. I don't want to put the salt in and then have it all wash away in the whey, or else we're going to have a flavorless mozzarella. You don't have to use salt, but I like it. I prefer it in mozzarella. Gives it some good flavor. All right, I'm going to throw this back in for 35 more seconds, and then we'll keep doing that. All right, I've microwaved this for the second time, this time for 35 seconds. And you can feel it's, as you're kneading it, like I was in the last step, it's going a little bit easier. That's just because it's hot, and the heat helps it stretch. In the next interval, we will actually stretch it. So I'm just trying to work it. Mozzarella is a stretch cheese. That's the whole thing about it, is the stretch cheese. I'm going to take that glove off. It's kind of causing a little bit of problems. So I'm just going to use my hands. It's warm for sure, but not too hot to the touch. What I'm going to do now is add about half the salt. I'm going to kind of push this flat. I'm going to sprinkle about half the salt all over the top of this. Fold that together and work it in. I want that salt to get all through the mozzarella. Okay, I'm going to microwave this one more time, and then we'll be stretching. Okay, I microwaved this for another 35 seconds. Now what we want to do is pick it up, see if we can stretch it. And that's hot. And that's what it should look like. I'm going to use my gloves. And that's what it should do. If it tears apart easily, then it's too cold. That's what mozzarella should do. That's a gallon of raw milk right there. That's a nice stretched mozzarella. Perfect. A little bit of whey, a little bit out. Now what I want to do is put the last of the salt in. And now work that in real well. I'm going to try to do this without the gloves. Now we're going to do the final forming. What I like to do is one big loaf. And you'll know when it's done, because mozzarella will get glossy when you're pulling it and stretching it. And that's how you know when it's done. It's actually, we're seeing some of that already, but we want to make sure it gets stretched a few times before we call it actually finished. I'm going to put this in the microwave for just a couple more seconds so I can get it to form better. And then that'll be it. All right, what I did was I added another 20 seconds in the microwave. When I'm doing this, I'm actually going into my house, and I think the walk back and forth is cooling off a little bit before I can actually start stretching. So I think I'm about done. I'm just going to keep pulling it over itself like this. There's our mozzarella. Now the best part, we're going to try a piece. Cut a small piece off. Oh yeah, that's fabulous. All right, we just completed making raw milk mozzarella with a change in that process step from the hot pot of water to the microwave. Again, this may work better for some folks. One tip for storage: mozzarella dries out fast. Fresh mozzarella dries out fast. So what you either want to do is have some whey in a container. You can leave it in that. Or what I do is I just wrap it with saran wrap tightly, and the air can't get to it, and the outside stays nice and fresh and soft. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and please remember to like and subscribe.